Hi, friends. Quynn Red Mountain here. Wow. Oh my gosh. I mean, really, right? So it's Monday, March 16th, the year of clear vision 2020. And I guess we're getting some vision now. So I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and many of us have been screeched to a halt. And then others of us are still asked to or required to or do show up every day for work, to support other people, and to help. And you're a fucking hero, really. My work has grinded to a halt in the physical world because there's really nothing to do. There's no groups gathering. And so far, people were all kind of hunkering down and getting prepared for this sense of a wave. And so that's why I'm coming here with you now, is this is where we can connect. So this is where it's at. So, an animist perspective. Okay, first of all, I'm not a doctor, of course. I don't really have any credentials around scientific stuff. I'm an animist, and I watch other kinds of energies. So, blah, blah, blah. All that to say is that I wanted to share or speak to a few things that I think might be helpful, or at least to share that I too am thinking about these things. Oh, also my shirt. We are one watershed. This is from Watershed Management Group here in Tucson, and I thought that this was an appropriate shirt to wear because this virus is showing us that wherever we are all connected, both economically to various degrees and through teeny, teeny other little beings that don't stay out with walls or because we tell them to. And so that begins the animist part of this share. Okay, so as an animist, and some of you were likely like, what's an animist? So animism, anima, is the root, that there's a spirit in everything. And a lot of people, when they hear that, they roll their eyes and say, oh, what, everything? Okay, well, everything that's here comes from some element that is of this earth or something that's been created. It's all made of the same molecules, right? And so everything, especially things that we consider things, have an energy unto themselves. So let's say viruses. Okay, let's back that up a bit. So trees, water, rocks and stones, all of those beings that a lot of people might consider things, those of us who are sensitive know that they have their own essence. They can communicate with us. We can ask them for their help. We are all part of the same web of life, and that we are all connected. And that's something that this virus is showing us, how we are connected. So this virus is affecting us as humans. But my dogs are here, and they have been very attentive to my moods, and they can sense that something is up. If you have empathic pets, you also know that too, that they can sense when things are going on. So, at least so far, it is understood that this virus does not affect dogs and cats. So, they're like, well, I'm sorry for you. Let me help you. Let me comfort you. But it's not like they're going to get it. They're not going to get sick from this. All the other animals, all the other beings, for the most part, it's true as well. It affects us. So, then there's this virus, this thing that we can't even see. So in the old days, before science, boy, these little things used to freak us out. We would call them spirits. So whatever, you could think of that a virus before we knew about viruses, that a bad spirit entered the body and made us sick. Okay, that's not that far off. Like, we can't see these things, these beings, without a microscope, without technology. And so we are just in the long range of human history, we are getting used to the idea, it's only been around a little while, that there are these small, teeny little things that can wipe us out. And they have many, many times in the past. This whole continent has been wiped out by the people, the original people, not the continent. Sorry, that was bad language. The indigenous and native people, all the different peoples have been ravaged by sicknesses of the past, as well as across Europe and every other big group of people that there have been different kinds of sicknesses. And so here we are again. Okay, so I want to work with the idea of clarity. I pulled a divination card out of a deck about stones, crystals, minerals. One, because the gem show was recently here in Tucson. Luckily, this didn't affect that, so we think. But stones and crystals and minerals are so old. They've been around this earth for so much longer than us. And the one that I picked is clear quartz, which is the key word on this is clarity. So when we think of crystals, really, I mean, that is one of the first ones that come to mind, right? Beautiful. This one's this beautiful, sharp little point, right? Clear, can see through it, can direct energy. They're ancient. They also begin to heal themselves after they break or are broken. They're living, so they start to heal themselves, which is nice to know that we can heal ourselves as well. Okay, so let's imagine, and I'm sure it doesn't even have to be imagination, that this wave is moving across this earth, or maybe a swarm. That's how it's being treated. It's coming like a tsunami or something. We're seeing the little crests out in deep water and in other places, right? So, but if you're in China, you're well aware. If you're in Iran, Italy, you're well aware of what's going on. So those of us in different places, we can see it coming and we feel it coming because of the fear. So let's step aside from the fear for a moment. And this energy is getting ready to move across the human population. So if that brings up fear for you, I would like you to, for a moment, practice the feeling of breathing into that fear and asking it to subside. Oh, no, no, no. Just ask it to subside. So this wave is happening. But some messages that I've received, intuitive senses, and some dreams of other people, remind us that this virus has its own energy. It is its own kind of being. It has its own wisdom. It's not evil. It's doing what it does. It's looking for hosts. It is expanding. It is wanting to be present in the world. And so, what if as individuals, we calm our fear, and in our mind, in our internal world, like in those of us who journey and meditate, that we reach out to this energy that is moving across the planet, and that in some way we just show it, I'm not afraid, and also you're not welcome here. What if we are doing the practices that keep us safe? We keep our hands clean. We take care in who we're around. No one. Or, each of us has our couple people. And we do those self-care, sanitization kinds of methods. And then from there as well, we're not in a fight. We're not fighting. We're not at war as an individual. with this virus? What if we hold that feeling? I am not at war with you. Please move on by. You're not welcome here. Those of us that have, do, or will have an experience of this virus coming into us to a varying degree, if we could also stop the fear and stop the fight, some of us will die, yes. Some of us will get sick and recover and then likely be immune. This is how every wave of sickness has moved through this earth. We are not exempt. It doesn't matter what zip code we live in. It does matter about zip code, about how quickly we receive tests and how quickly, or if we even have an ability to receive any kind of help. But let's just say for a moment, no matter what zip code we live in, that the goal is to, of course, not get it to a point where we have to call emergency health practitioners. And part of this, what if when we meditate, we practice having a boundary that's not like a wall boundary? It's more like there's nothing to hold on to here. There's no food here. Move on by. You're not welcome here. You might receive your own particular type of message from this being, this entity called the coronavirus, COVID-19. What if it's an ancient virus that has been unearthed because of melting ice caps and melting tundra that has been in permafrost for a very long time? What if it's something very old? I've heard many tales that these things that used to be around and then they were frozen but not killed might find their way back. Clarity. Please, clarity, be with me so that I can know when to go and when to stay, when to move, when to pause, who to be with, who to pass on. May we know when to take extra care, when to sleep. Clarity. Because when we panic, we stop thinking clearly. So there is no room for panic. That feeling, that rising up, that anxiety that turns into panic. There is no room for it. Another part of this is that this kind of virus, this flu-like virus. So my great-grandfather was killed by the 1918 flu epidemic. It really set a course for my mother's ancestors, her grandparents' mother and her, because of what that did to their family. He was a very young man. So what tends to happen, what tends to kill us in these kind of sicknesses is our own immune system raging, amping up so deeply, so strongly that it overwhelms. And I'm not a scientist or doctor, so go look it up for yourself. A cytokine storm, Cytokine, something like that, storm, that ends up doing us in. The over amping of our immune system is what kills us. So for us to practice calming that shit down, just enough inflammation, just enough fever, just enough reaction to move through it. Not enough to overwhelm our system. What if we can intend that, practice that, ask for that, and be that as this wave moves through? That's my practice. And I'm not saying I don't freak out. In little bits, and it might be bigger soon enough, but it just doesn't frickin' help. So bring it down. finally, what I'd like to share is that back in the 1990s, which now has been quite a while, I was in my 20s, and I had a whole series of dreams, and they were very pronounced dreams. Each one had a similar flavor. It was that something was coming. A nuke, a tidal wave, a tsunami, something like this. And I had a certain number of hours prior notice that then I could pack together everything I might need to be able to, in this case, in the dreams, it was to drive. Now, this was before the internet, so there was none of this, any of this that we had. Okay, so the context I had at the time was that I was able to pack up my car of whatever I knew I would need or thought I would need, and then drive a certain number of hours to a safe zone, like whatever it was. And and in the dream, I would be writing lists of things that I would think I might need in various situations. And here was the most important part, that I was supposed to stay ahead, beside, or behind the wave of panic. That actually, more often than not, it was the wave of panic that was deadly than the actual thing itself. That could be mitigated with clarity the best that we could, right? I mean, that's always the case. We try our best, and things happen as they do. But there are many things that we can do on our end to quell the wave of panic. So what if also the panic isn't other people, you people over there, you freaks, chill out, but it's also about the wave of panic inside. Those dreams made an incredible mark on me. And during this experience, I am drawing on those teachings deeply. So, clarity, right? Clear thinking. It is not a bad idea at this point, if you have not done so already, is to think about what are the most important things. If you had to scoot, that's one version. If you had to scoot real quick, put what you could in your car and get a certain distance out, what would go in that car? The other version is, what would you have if you had to hole up, hide out, like we're having to do for 2 weeks or longer? But let's say 2 weeks. What do you have? And sometimes the best thing is to take off. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the best thing is to stay and pause. So this is an opportunity for us to slow down, to get clear, and to listen. Listen to the virus. Well, of course, there's a part of the virus that wants to munch on all of us, right? But that's what it does. And so we know more and more things that inhibit that ability of the virus to do that to us. Careful, careful, careful business here. But the good thing is that we have all of these allies, coming back to animism, we have all of these different allies around us rooting for us. We have every bush, every plant, every ant, the molecules of the oxygen around us that are moving through us are lungs. Thank you, lungs. The bees, I just was seeing bees out just before doing this message. The clouds, the rocks, even the beings that we often perceive as nothing or not important. The doves, meaning the pigeons. There are an infinite number of helpful allies for us to call upon. And it is now time for us to do just that, so that even if we are in a moment of extreme challenge, we know we are not alone. Our ancestors, we have so many ancestors that understood sickness, not to the degree or the way we do, but ancestors who knew plants that are helpful to help inhibit virus, sickness, weakness, in our systems. My dog, one of my 3 dogs, who they all have been very attentive. And anytime I start talking about one of these subjects, it's interesting right now that I'm doing this, and one of them is at the back scratching to get in because she knows that I'm emitting energy that makes her nervous. She wants to help me calm down. You are an important part of the sacred web of life. Do not panic, do not fear, and think clearly. And we'll keep connecting this way. Until next time, stay safe. And I am figuring out ways to be more connected through digital paths. So stay tuned. You can subscribe. That way you'll see each time that I upload a new video. And weboflifeanimist.com is the website. And under offerings, there's lots of different digital ways that you can journey with me, like in your ears through distance. We are one watershed. We are all connected. Take care of yourself.